In the first part of this video, we covered the United States' current situation in Megaminx, looking at various statistics which showed weakness at this event compared to other events on the global scale, and looked at our current top 3 solvers, seeing how they got this far and why they're not considered world record contenders right now, based on this poll I made. If you haven't watched that video, I'd recommend you watch it first, since it sets the context for this video. In this video, I'll be going over the remaining options on the poll and looking at the future to see if and how the US can improve at Megaminx. So let's get started by looking at the second and third options in the poll, which were that the first American world record holder will be someone currently ranked 4th to 10th and someone ranked 11th to 25th in the national rankings respectively. The top 10 option got 2 votes and the top 25 option got 0 votes, which is pretty interesting. This does make sense considering our deficit of up-and-coming solvers in this level compared to other parts of the world, but at the same time there are some solvers here with notable improvement over the past year. So I decided to highlight the 5 American solvers with a 24 to 25 improvement score under 0.9, since it's a useful metric to identify up-and-coming solvers at this level, as explained in the previous part. It may be hard to see them as future world record holders right now, but they definitely have the opportunity to compete with European rising stars and contribute to putting the US back on the map for Megaminx. So let's take a look at these 5 solvers. In 5th place, with an improvement score of 0.88 and an official average of 32.29, we have Brendan Lee. Competing in Megaminx for the first time in January 2023, Brendan is the second newest Megaminxer in the whole national top 25, and he started off strong with a sub-1 average in his first round. He kept up this pace throughout the year, dropping his PR 20 seconds by next January with a sub-40 average. He ended up getting consistently sub-40 results by the end of 2024 with a 35.85 PI, but his results really broke through in summer 2025 when he dropped his PR twice, getting 34.31 then 32.78 in Connecticut Championships, but he didn't stop there and improved PR at his next competition as well as New England Championships after that, where he became regional champion for Megaminx. This average also got him Massachusetts state record, taking it from longtime top Megaminxer Nickel Suarez. To put this overall improvement into perspective, Brendan's improvement this year is more than his improvement last year when he was slower, meaning his rate of improvement has improved as well. Brendan is now ranked 6th in the country, beaten only by much more experienced solvers, which is very impressive. Additionally, he has the 5th fastest moving average, reflecting his recent improvement in consistency. Currently, Brendan is trying to switch his method from Eastland to Westland, which means rotating counterclockwise instead of clockwise in S2L, and allows for much better solutions for right-handers. You can get world class with either direction, but switching can definitely further his potential. He also doesn't know full OLL yet, so there's another place he has room for improvement. So if it wasn't already obvious, Brendan is a solid contender to contribute to the future of American Megaminx, and he could soon be the 5th American in the global top 25. In 4th place with an improvement score of 0.87 and an official average of 34.24 is Nolan Yu. Nolan is a junior delegate in Northern California, and I've personally competed with him many times and seen his improvement over the past year. He started competing in Megaminx in 2017, but he only got really fast after the pandemic, getting sub-1 average on his 4th comp back in April 2022. He improved steadily after that, getting a 42.52 average as his first sub-45 the following summer. However, he got inconsistent averages for the rest of the year and failed to improve this. In summer 2024, he came back strong, breaking sub-40 multiple times, including at the finals of North American Championships, where his 38.29 average placed him 10th and also got him to the global top 100. He dropped this average again in the final round of the year before coming back in spring 2025 and breaking PR by a bit twice, and then making a jump of over 3 seconds in the third round of the year, getting California state record. His next rounds after this were at the World Championships, where he broke his record again in the second round, although it would have been even better and sent him to the finals without a corner twist on the last solve. With this average, Nolan is now 10th in the country and in the top 10 for moving average. While he's already improved very quickly over the past year, one recent development that could affect Nolan's future improvement is that he switched from Eastland to full pseudo Westland over the summer. Pseudo S2L, which involves forming blocks by inserting a side edge in place of the normal star edge, is a technique that's been along for a long time, but was popularized by Aidan Granger in 2024 and taken to its limits by Alex Samuel Martin, who pioneered full pseudo, using this method throughout S2L. Leandro Martin Lopez also uses this for 2 of his S12 faces, so it's clear that this technique has a lot of potential, and it hasn't been used extensively by top American solvers as far as I know, which will make it very interesting to see where Nolan can go with it. In third place, with an improvement score of 0.85 and an official average of 31.3, is Zeke Mackey. At first glance, Zeke being on this list seems like a contradiction. Not only has he been competing in Megaminx since 2016, but he's also a very good all-rounder who's top 100 in the world for 3 other events, and top 500 for almost every event, which makes it very impressive that he's risen so close to the top of the US Megaminx rankings so quickly. As mentioned, he first competed in Megaminx in 2016, but he only got sub 1 after competitions reopened in 2021. In 2022, he started getting sub 40 official averages, which continued throughout 2023 until the final competition of the year when he started a streak of 5 personal records, dropping it exactly 5 seconds from 46.28 to 41.28, and he continued with averages consistently in the low 40s after this. By the second half of the year, he started breaking sub 40, getting an insane PR drop from 38.48 to 34.9 on his 4th ever sub 40 average, which also made him Great Lakes champion. While this was a huge fluke and his averages after that were back in the high 30s, he would only take half a year to get back to sub 35, breaking his PR in March 2025 and mostly getting averages in the low 30s since then. Zeke is now placed 4th in the country, so he's the fastest in this whole category, and one of the only 4 American top players representing the country in the global top 25. While there is a gap of over a second between Zeke and 3rd in the US he won, it's very notable that he's gotten this close to the national top 3 while not even being in the global top 100 or national top 20 a year before, and it's exciting to see how much farther he'll go. In second place with an improvement score of 0.83 and an official average of 35.87 is me, and I'm actually the slowest on this list based on both PR and rolling average, although the second one can be explained by the fact that I've had much less rounds than everyone else, with 6 in 2024 and 5 in 2025, and 22 in total. Like our last 2 entries, I had my first round before the pandemic in 2019, but only started focusing on the event afterwards, in summer 2023 in my case. I got sub 1 in about 3 months of maining Megaminx, but took a break for half a year after getting sub 55. I competed again next spring after returning and getting a bit faster, and I kept improving for the rest of the year, although my official results lagged behind and I couldn't break sub 40 by New Year's. Since then I've been on and off with practicing and haven't competed much, but I got sub 40 in spring and then finally got a satisfactory average for me at World Championships, where I was 26th in the first round and finally broke global top 100 as well. Currently I'm ranked 18th in the US, which puts me 7 places behind anyone else on the list, so it's pretty interesting that I still got the second highest improvement. But it makes sense since I've only had 2 Megaminx competitions without PR ever, one before I made Megaminx and also my last competition. Other than my amount of rounds, my solving methods are also something that set me apart from the other 4 solvers here, since I've used Western from the start and I use mostly pseudo, which is what most people who use pseudo do. It should technically give me an advantage, but also marginally less room for improvement on last layer. Also, I'm more specialized in Megaminx compared to everyone else here, as I'm not even top 1000 for anything else. So there are some unique things I do that the other people here don't, and we'll see where that takes me. Finally, in first place, we have the most improved top American Megaminxer over the past year, with an improvement score of 0.8 and an official average of 34.82, Lucy Grace Bryson. Lucy is the newest Megaminxer in the entire top 25, having her first round in May 2023 and only having 2 other rounds that year, which means her Megaminx career really got started in 2024. Lucy got sub 1 in February that year and kept improving, breaking sub 50 just 3 months later, and making her way to the low 40s by August, when she got her first female North American record, which she's held ever since, with 41.08. Just a month later, she got sub 40 but wouldn't improve this until February 2025, when she made the global top 100 with a 37.49, getting there just about a year after getting sub 1. Lucy improved this a few more times this year, getting down to 36.2 before making a drop of over a second to 34.82, which got her Indiana state record taken from Luke Garrett. With this average, Lucy is now ranked 11th in the country and in the top 10 for moving average. She uses Eastland and 3LLL right now, which does leave some room for improvement on last layer. One interesting thing you might notice when looking at her results is that she doesn't seem to get PR very often, but this is actually not because of her improvement rate, but due to the high amount of rounds she competes in. When looking at this chart again, Lucy immediately sticks out as an outlier, having 90 rounds in just 2 years, thanks to the amount of Megaminx competitions in and around Indiana, including many where Megaminx is the main event. This gives her a unique advantage compared to many other up-and-coming solvers, and as such it's clear that she will be contributing a lot to the American Megaminx scene going forward. Looking at all of this once again begs the question, why didn't most voters think any of these people had what it takes to break world record? I didn't cover the whole top 100, but this applies to that option as well, since it only got 2 votes. To be fair, the world record is an extreme achievement, and people from this skill level can definitely lead the US to other achievements in Megaminx, but is first in the world really out of reach for them? It's definitely hard to imagine someone at this level right now getting world record eventually, which probably played a part in people not picking these choices. And it's also important to consider at this range how much faster the world record will be by the time they get to that level. Either way, this serves to explain why people didn't pick these choices, but the really interesting question is why the top 25 and the top 100 as a whole is in this situation, with so few up-and-coming solvers and so far behind the rest of the world. This is a really hard question to answer, as Megaminx has always just been a less popular event in this country, and it's never really been challenged. I think the current situation is something like a power vacuum, since Nicholas Nang had a monopoly on US Megaminx for so long, and it took years of work for Alexis and Yavin to beat him. And now that they're no longer world record contenders, we're faced with a lack of newer solvers from the second tier, with many of them being Megaminxers who were at the top in the 2010s, or people who don't main Megaminx. However, I think this also means we're at a turning point, and we may start seeing more and more newer solvers reaching this level soon. This finally brings us to the last 2 options, which overwhelmingly got the most votes. 11 people said the first American Megaminx average world record holder is not yet in the top 100, and 9 said they aren't even a cuber yet. Additionally, keep in mind 10 voters on the other poll said this would never happen. We've gone through the reasons that every other option is unlikely, and finally arrived at the answer that it will probably take a prodigy we've never heard of for the US to get this world record, and we can only speculate on how this and other US accomplishments in Megaminx will play out. We can definitely go back to American cubing history for inspiration and look at Nicholas Nang's rise in 2015. It's quite possible a hypothetical world record holder will also be someone who comes out of nowhere, and maybe someone who only practices Megaminx, since their improvement will probably need to be exceptionally fast to keep up with the improvement of the world record, especially if they're going to get it by 2031, which is the option that got the most votes. I personally said this world record will happen by 2029, and that was partially because I think someone talented enough to do this will have an insane improvement rate, but I was also being optimistic. One issue with this series of events is that even if the US gets the world record, we'd only have one person at the top, while some events are completely US dominated. So how could we have this happen with Megaminx? A US world record could inspire more Americans to get into the event, but another place to look at for parallels in this regard would be Europe. As I said at the beginning, Europe wasn't that good at Megaminx until recently, with as low as 5 or 6 people in the top 25 during the pandemic and at some points afterwards. They were kept close to the top by the European record holder Amos Nordman, but he started to slip in the rankings in 2023, and Europe had become the second slowest continent. This is where the self-proclaimed pioneer of the European Megaminx takeover, Aiden Granger, came in. Aiden got European record in November 2023 and traded it with Amos once before taking it back and getting Europe ahead of Oceania. Although he soon lost it to Timofey Tarasenko, who eventually got Europe ahead of every other continent, Aiden's European record was definitely a turning point which put Europe back on track, and so it's possible that a new North American record from an up-and-coming solver, which could happen much sooner than a world record, will be what it takes to inspire more Americans to get into Megaminx. Of course, these are just my own thoughts and ideas, which may be wrong, so I wanted to ask a more experienced solver for their opinions on this whole situation as well. I prepared 4 or 5 interview-style questions to ask our top US Megaminxer, that being Ethan Davis, currently 5th in the US and formerly 2nd at his peak, first joining the global top 100 in 2017. Ethan had already responded to my polls and said the first US world record average would be at some point after 2031 and from someone who's not cubing yet. So my first question was about who would get the next US national record. Here's his response. Hard to say, but I might get Zeke. His improvement lately has been insane, but he's still pretty far off NR, and I'm not sure how much he'll focus on Megaminx. He seems like he's mostly an all-rounder. And this is definitely a great pick, since Zeke has had very quick improvement as covered earlier. It is hard to imagine an all-rounder getting Megaminx national record, as Ethan said, but if he can pull it off, it would be a very impressive achievement. I also asked if there are any solvers in the national top 100 who stand out as rising stars, and Ethan said definitely Zeke, in addition to Brandon and Declan Wilhelm. I didn't cover Declan earlier, but he's ranked 12th in the country and has a solid recent improvement score of 0.92, so he's certainly a great choice from the current top 25. My third question was a bit vague, but went to the core of the issue and asked why the US is in this situation, just not being as good at Megaminx throughout cubing history, and his answer explained what I was trying to get at earlier quite well. I don't know if there's really a good reason other than just that the problem kind of perpetuates itself. A lot of the time, one or two fast solvers can inspire others in the area to get good at the event. I know this happened pretty significantly with Multiblind in Poland with Marcin Kowalczyk. Those square one solvers in the US were already friends before they all got really good as far as I know, stuff like that. If that doesn't happen, it's harder for an event to pick up steam. This is definitely an interesting phenomenon, and it does seem to be the most insightful explanation available unless we find a specific reason Megaminx wasn't popular in the US early on. Ethan also applied this in response to my next question about whether there could be a US takeover of Megaminx with many people at the top of the rankings, saying maybe but not very soon, and that it would probably happen in the way described previously if it does. I think it'll be exciting to see if this happens with Megaminx in the US anytime soon, especially if it's in a specific region, which would be quite interesting. New York City is currently home to 3 top players, including Matthew Leong, who represents Indonesia, but the Midwest has also been having a lot of Megaminx rounds, more than anywhere else in the world as far as I can tell, so those are 2 regions I would keep an eye on. Either way, if we get any kind of trend like this in motion, it'll make our path to the world record or a takeover much easier. All of this being said, this journey has the potential to be a true collective effort in the American cubing community, which will not only require new solvers picking up Megaminx and solvers at all levels improving, but top-level Megaminxers innovating and educating, content creators increasing interest in the event, and even organizers holding more rounds of Mega. It's been years since this story started, with the ending still as far as ever, but I think it will only get more interesting from now on, which is why I'm planning to make update videos on the future of American Megaminx every 6 months for as long as it takes to reach some kind of conclusion. Even if it takes years, I think it will make the story all the more engaging as we experience new eras and styles of Megaminx solvings, seeing how much farther or closer we get from the goal and how many eras of complete dominance or close competition we see internationally and nationally over the coming years. My hope is that this series will be the spot that it takes to revive US Megaminx in some way. So if you represent the US and this video inspired you to work on Megaminx in some way, good luck and see you next summer.